The Iron Claws, the brand new A24 film that just hit theaters this past Friday. It is inspired by the true story of the legendary wrestling family of the Von Erichs. The lead of the movie is Zac Efron as the second oldest son, Kevin Von Erich, who is dealing with the loss of his oldest brother when he was just 5 years old and trying the burden of living on the Von Erich family and making sure all of his brothers, because now he's the oldest one, that they live a good life. Other brothers of the film is Kerry Von Erich, who's played by Jeremy Allen White from The Bear. You have Harris Dickinson as David, and you also have Stanley Simons as Mike. Also in the film, you have their parents who are very much for them being in the wrestling biz, and that's kind of what they care about. Fritz and Doris, played by Maura Tierney and Hope McCallney. The film is 2 hours and 13 minutes and is rated R. Welcome back to a brand new movie review here on Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Sindenberg. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring the bell. I do a box office breakdown show every single Monday, movie rankings, and other TV and movie reviews. I also just started doing out of theater reactions. I did one that's already up on my YouTube channel for this movie and Aquaman 2. So I'm doing that now every time I go to the movie theater for some out of theater reactions for YouTube Shorts. I'll do that for here on the channel. Please like the video, the thumbs up button. That really helps support this channel. Also comment down below. First of all, are you a big wrestling fan? Are you unaware of really pro wrestling? And on those perspectives, what are your thoughts on this movie? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. Also, we have to mention from the cast, sorry, Lily James is also in the movie as Kevin's, Zac Efron's character's wife, who is there as well. So I also missed Lily James as well. So coming in, I was very excited. Obviously, it's a new A24 film, and that's always very exciting. But I am a massive, you know me personally, a massive pro wrestling fan. I basically watch wrestling every day since I was, since I was 8, 7 years old. I've been watching pro wrestling. And the fact I know, some of the wrestlers that are in the movie and some of the people behind the screen who helped the wrestlers that helped our main cast out. So I was excited this on a pro wrestling level, but also just wanted to see what the buzz was about this movie. I didn't really hear many people talking about it, so I wanted to have my own opinion on it. And right from the start, this is one of the most sad movies I've seen all year, but I doesn't mean it's a bad movie. I adore really this. I love this movie. And it's a very emotional film. It gives hope. It gives really the harsh realities of the times. It gives harsh realities on what it's like to be a male athlete, the old school way of thinking. This movie does go after a lot of different things, but the main thing that it does a great job doing is its way of showing brotherhood. These four brothers in the film, they just want to be together. They live for each other. And I don't want to get into spoilers, but there are tragedies that hit, and a lot of these characters have to face with a lot of adversity throughout the entire film. And they have to continue on a family legacy. They have to start their own family legacy. There's a lot of responsibility of the community. And I was just moved. My son who has a brother, I think a lot of people who have siblings, when they see this movie, are going to be moved by a lot of the motifs and things that they do, because this is very authentic. And that's one of the things I took away from this movie as well, that these people just feel like real people. No one feels larger than life. And yeah, Zac Efron's a very famous actor. Obviously now Jeremy Allen White is as well. But these people just feel like real people in real situations. And you are just moved by some of these characters. And the last 5 minutes really hit me in this movie. It really made me think, and it really moved me emotionally. It can be a hard film because there's a lot of it's a very dark film, and there's a lot of tragedy that happens. And it is based on a true story. But it's the harsh reality of what this family had to go through, what they call it, the Von Erich curse. Now, from the performance level, there are tremendous performances. Zac Efron gives his best performance of his career as Kevin Von Erich, who is the main character of the film. He's like the lead. And Kevin is a fascinating character in person, who is challenged more than most in this movie about the burden of basically being the one who has to take care of his brothers, and puts that responsibility upon himself while also having a family of his own, having a wife and having kids. Efron is terrific, not just obviously with the dialogue and the delivery of scenes, but most of his really good work in the movie comes when he's not talking, because shockingly, this is a quiet movie. Yes, there's definitely dialogue and action with the wrestling, but it's a very quiet movie that, just like Kevin, it lets you sink in what has just happened and how you're supposed to respond about that, what the next step is. And just like Kevin, you're kind of just thrown into having to move on from the situation and keep the family going. And Efron does a lot of that without even needing to talk. Just seeing his face, you can feel what Kevin is going through. And it's a huge testament to Efron, who has not seemingly been getting a lot of love for this performance during awards season, but he absolutely should. It's a fantastic performance. It's one of the best performances of the year. Supporting wise, there's a couple standouts. Jeremy Allen White and Harris Dickinson are the standouts of the Von Erich. Really, all of them. All the brothers are great, but Dickinson and Allen White in particular are fantastic in the film, especially Dickinson, who gives a great performance in the first half of the movie. And he's great. Jeremy Allen White, when he has to understand what his character Carrie has had to go through. These, again, they all go through something completely different, but there's so much adversity and burden that they all face. And Carrie's another very fascinating character, and Jeremy Allen White does a really fantastic job showing that through his frustration, because Carrie is a very angry person for the majority of the film, but you can see rightfully so. Maura Tierney, but also Holt McCallany is fantastic as the Von Erich's dad, Fritz, who also had to face a lot of adversity, but it's a very old school way of thinking and forces the burden of mistakes of his life onto his sons for righting wrongs of himself. He's really great in the movie. Lily James also, she's done this role a lot, but she also is very good in the movie. Liked her a lot more in the first act of the film more than the other two, but she was quite excellent, and she has great chemistry with Efron throughout the film. It's a very emotional film. People are going to call it depressing and sad, but it's moving, but there's also light at the end of the tunnel, and it gives you a realistic look at what a lot of families do have to go through. And it's a sad movie, but it's a very uplifting movie also towards the end, and how someone can also find their way out of a situation like this and make a very good life for themselves. In ring, there's some really good professional wrestling stuff. Clearly, the actors were trained, and there's a lot of good wrestling sequences. Sean Durkin, who wrote and directed this movie is a gorgeous movie. Definitely makes it feel like we're in the 1970s and 80s, but the way they shoot the wrestling scenes were just gorgeous, and it felt very much authentic to what wrestling looked like 30, 40, 50 years ago. So someone who likes pro wrestling, I love a lot of the Easter eggs. And if you hear people's names and you're a pro wrestling fan, you're gonna get an extra kick out of things. But again, you do not need to be a pro wrestling fan to watch this movie. Yes, there's a lot of wrestling in this movie, but the most of the movie is really much a family drama that just happened to be pro wrestlers. And I think a lot of people who are not into wrestling just knock it because it's fake or whatever. And this, I guess, my little rant on wrestling. But this movie will show you what a burden is and what these people do weekly, daily, to please fans. And while, yes, it's not the overarching story of pro wrestling, this is still a great way in for people who are not familiar. So overall, I love the Iron Claw. Sometimes this movie does feel like it's much longer than 2 hours and 13 minutes. Maybe it's because of the emotion I was feeling when all these tragedies were happening. So overall, I'm going to give the Iron Claw a 4.5 out of 5. I'm going to go 93% for the Iron Claw. One of the best movies of the year. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys soon.